one county couldn't.
One county couldn't stop you, which is, and of course, if there's, we don't want that because, you know, if you're going to build a region, then the vote needs to take place on a region-wide basis. But in the case, you know, you can't have one county that may have a lot of population that controls probably could control the vote, but can't control what goes on the calendar. Neither do you want 3 or 4 small counties controlling what the project list is going to look like. I think this is an approach. Now, whether the House members agree, we're talking to them. We're having some good dialogue, but at the end of the day, they've worked on a bill. They've got some ideas, and our intent is to get a bill passed, and we think we're fairly close.
So you don't think a scenario where, you know, the locals can't agree on a plan?
No, I think we'll. I mean, if they want the projects, they've got to agree. This just forces the governor's office to be a little more in tune to what the counties are asking for.
So
It's got to work both ways.
But what you're talking about is still basically the same structure of the present bill.
Right.
And so I guess that sort of leads to the question: what was it that happened last week that sort of derailed things so that you reappointed these committees? I don't know if you would agree with the word derail, but delayed things.
I don't think, I didn't see it that way at all. I think it's just, you know, we've debated this for a couple of 3 years. Rather than taking the time to run through the whole committee process on the Senate side, it was easier just to get to the solution by going to a conference committee. We wanted to have some public comment and some time for House members to move forward. I think most of the folks in the Senate are good with going on to a conference committee and working out our differences there.
How concerned are you that we'll, for the 3rd year in a row, get down to day 40, right about 5 minutes till midnight, and the clock runs out on a transportation bill again?
You know, with a conference committee, we could technically put the deal together and put it on the floor at any point in time. So, you know, our primary concern is a very difficult budget, and you know that's taken precedence over everything. But we do have the mechanism in a conference committee to make this happen, and we're not waiting on committees to vote or a floor vote. It's just putting it on the floor.
Do you think that the bill will make it to the floor with the regional opt-out that the House has passed over?
Well, the House, you know, again, it's a little bit of semantics of whether you call it an opt-in or opt-out. The House has an opt-out, but you know, you can also view it as an opt-in. I'm just saying, at the end of the day, counties need a say. I mean, you've got to let counties at least say, we're comfortable with this project list and we want to move forward. Right now, they have no say about that. I mean, they have input, but you've got to give them a little bit of teeth.
Do either of you have any comment about the report regarding Congressman Nathan Deal's business dealings, or some of the things that?
I'm familiar only with what you put in the paper. I have no knowledge beyond that.
Senator Rogers, could you talk about the cap and trade resolution that's going to be on the floor today?
You know, the Senate passes a lot of urging resolutions telling Congress what to do and what not to do. I'm not sure how serious they take them, but we certainly want to be on record unequivocally saying that at a time when this nation's economy is in dire straits, for Congress to go further in hurting American businesses is just almost unconscionable, particularly when it seems as if most of this is based on science that has now been called into question. So, you know, if you're going to do those type of things to the economy, I would suggest never doing them, but at least you ought to take a pause and let's see if we can get the science right. And I think the statement from the Senate today will reflect that.
Do you have any thoughts about going back to the Deal report? They also mentioned Lieutenant Governor Cagle and said that he had not cooperated when it came to interviews, although he did give them some information. Any thoughts on how that might affect the Senate and its presiding officer?
I don't have any idea what transpired. I don't imagine it will affect us at all. Got time
going
for
to-
probably one more.
Well, just a question about last week for Senator Williams. Your thoughts about one bill that I'm working on, the abortion legislation? What's your take on that bill?
Well, I think any time that we can limit a choice regarding whether one keeps a baby because of gender or race, we should not allow that choice. You know, I'm pro-life. I believe people should have the children that they bring into this world, and frankly, making a choice to abort a child because of gender or race is going down a very slippery slope, and frankly, I think it's wrong.
But how widespread is that in Georgia? I've never heard that before.
You know, we don't want it to spread at all if there's not one case, but there are cases where people do make these choices about gender and race, and I had the opportunity to live a couple of summers in China where the choices were made for you by a socialist government, whether you could have a child or not. And, you know, as we move towards socialism, I don't want the choices to be made by the government to tell us what we can do about aborting children. So I want to try to prevent as many abortions and make the law as tough as we can in that regard.
But you've not heard of one case in Georgia?
I have not, but I would assume that there are choices made about race and gender.
But you were talking about the government telling you what you could and couldn't do. Isn't this the government putting further restrictions on a choice that right now is not limited?
What I'm referring to is the government of China telling you you could not have a child.
Do you have any kind of overall sense of how crossover day went and sort of the pace of the session so far?
And let me just follow up with that. You know, when you're told you not have a child, you devalue life. When you're told that every life is important, whether it's a girl or a boy or black or white, then you value life, and that's what we were doing, is valuing life. I'm sorry, your question again.
I was just going to ask if you had kind of an overall sense of the pace of the session and crossover day sort of at this point.
Well, you know, every session brings its own challenges, but, you know, our budget has gone from 21 billion down to 15 billion, so our choices are difficult now, and even with passing the hospital bill and the fee bill, we're still $200 million down. We're going to have to continue to cut budgets until we get balance. You know, we wish Washington had the same pleasure of balancing a budget that we do, but it's difficult, and but you know, it's our constitutional obligation. We're going to get there.
Thanks.